If you've ever scrounged around your couch cushions, rummaged through a junk drawer, or tipped over an old piggy bank, you've probably encountered the humble penny. That unassuming 1-cent coin has been part of American life for more than 230 years, but its days are numbered. In February 2025, it was announced that the U.S. Treasury will cease minting pennies, beginning in 2026. While this may seem like a small policy tweak, the ripple effects will touch everything from government budgets to mom-and-pop stores, and even the spare change jars in our homes. In this article, we'll explore why the penny is being retired, reveal hidden costs and unexpected risks, walk through the real story behind so-called million-dollar pennies, and share practical advice on whether to save, spend, or cash in your pennies before they disappear for good. The decision to end penny production. The penny's retirement didn't happen overnight. Lawmakers and economists have long lamented that, paradoxically, it costs more to produce a penny than the coin is worth. In 2024, the U.S. Mint spent nearly 4 cents to manufacture a single penny. Cumulatively, that inefficiency cost taxpayers about $85 million last year alone. In May 2025, the Mint placed its final large order for penny blanks, the metal discs destined to become pennies. Once those blanks are used up, no new pennies will be struck. The Treasury estimates this move will save at least $56 million per year on raw materials, with additional savings from reduced storage, transportation, and processing costs. From a fiscal standpoint, ending penny production is a logical step toward greater efficiency. The real cost of minting pennies. At first glance, a 4-cent production cost for a 1-cent coin seems absurd, and that's exactly the point. Pennies are made primarily of zinc, with a thin copper plating. Fluctuations in metal prices, combined with labor, machinery, and overhead, drive production costs well above face value. Over the years, the Mint has implemented cost-saving measures, like switching the penny's core from copper to zinc in 1982. But market forces have outpaced those efforts. When you multiply that 4-cent unit cost by the billions of pennies in circulation, the annual loss balloons into the tens of millions. From a budgetary perspective, eliminating the penny is akin to trimming dead weight. The savings may seem modest in the grand federal budget, but they compound over time. From production lines to store registers, the rounding tax, once pennies vanish, everyday cash transactions will change. Retailers and service providers won't be able to give back 1, 2, or 3-cent change, so they'll round transactions to the nearest 5 cents. If your purchase total ends in 1 cent or 2 cents, it's rounded down. If it ends in 3 cents or 4 cents, it's rounded up. Similarly, totals ending in 6 cents or 7 cents round down, while those ending in 8 cents or 9 cents round up. Economists call this the rounding tax. The Federal Reserve estimates that rounding could cost American consumers up to $6 million annually. While $6 million may sound minor against a $20 trillion economy, it's real money for individuals, particularly those who rely heavily on cash for daily purchases. The cash payment landscape. Who's affected? Although digital payments continue their rapid ascent, cash remains a vital part of the U.S. economy. Roughly 16% of all transactions are made in cash, and that share jumps to 22% among consumers aged 55 and older. For many low-income households, unbanked individuals, and residents of rural areas, cash is not just a preference, it's a necessity. Without pennies, these groups will absorb the rounding tax more frequently. For a family on a tight budget, an extra cent here and there can add up over time, whether it's at the local diner, corner store, or farmer's market. Eliminating the penny may streamline government finances, but it also shifts some costs onto the most cash-dependent segments of the population. Examining the myth of million-dollar pennies. With news of the penny's demise, the internet is awash with sensational headlines. Your jar of change could be worth millions. But before you start dreaming of early retirement, it's important to separate myth from reality. There is no general issue penny worth $100 million. Headlines claiming otherwise capitalize on rare numismatic anomalies, then blur the distinction between ordinary circulated coins and museum-quality rarities. In truth, only a handful of pennies have ever sold for sums approaching 7 figures, and those coins are singular, one-of-a-kind artifacts in near-perfect condition. The truly rare, pennies that have sold for 6 figures and beyond. Several wartime errors and minting anomalies have produced pennies worth substantial sums. 1943 D. Lincoln Bronze Wheat penny. During WY2, pennies were supposed to be minted in steel to conserve copper. A few bronze blanks were accidentally struck, and one such coin sold at auction for $1.7 million in 2010. 1944 AS Steel Wheat penny. Intended to be bronze, a handful of steel blanks slipped through the process. These ultra-rare coins have fetched over $1 million apiece. 1943 Copper penny. While not as scarce as the other errors, copper cents from 1943 can command between $100,000 and $250,000, depending on condition. 1909 SVDB Lincoln penny. Some 1909 pennies bear the initials of designer Victor David Brenner on the reverse. High-grade specimens can fetch several $1,000s. These examples underscore that rarity, condition, and historical context drive value, not simply the year or metal composition. Transitional pennies and other valuable varieties. The year 1982 marked another material shift. The mint switched from a mostly copper core to a predominantly zinc core with copper plating. During that transition, an estimated few million copper pennies were struck. Because copper pennies weigh 3.11 grams versus 2.5 grams for zinc core coins, collectors can easily identify them with a small scale. High-grade 1982 copper pennies can sell for hundreds of dollars. However, you'd need an uncommonly pristine specimen to break into 4-figure territory. Most circulated examples fetch around $50 to $150. How to spot and verify potentially valuable pennies. If you suspect you have a rare penny, here's a quick checklist. 1. Check the date and mint mark. Look for D, Denver, S, San Francisco, or VDB on the reverse. 2. Weigh the coin. Use a digital scale precise to at least 0.1 grams to distinguish copper from zinc. 3. Examine condition. Mint state, uncirculated, and proof coins in perfect condition carry the highest premiums. Signs of wear, scratches, or cleaning can drastically reduce value. 4. Seek professional grading. Services like the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, or Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, can authenticate and grade your coin, providing a certificate that boosts market confidence. 5. Consult price guides. The Red Book, a guidebook of United States coins, remains the standard reference for valuations and rarity charts. The future of the final 2025 pennies. Hoarding versus collectability. When production ceases in 2026, the last batch of pennies, dated 2025, might seem poised to become coveted relics. After all, limited production runs can drive collectors wild. but experts caution that hoarding behavior will likely dilute scarcity. If millions of people squirrel away rolls of 2025 pennies, their abundance will cap any substantial price appreciation. Look to the 1976 bicentennial quarter for precedent. Despite wide collecting at the time, those quarters rarely trade above face value today. In the case of the penny, sentimental value may motivate some collectors, but economic rarity depends on truly limited supply. And at scale, the 2025 pennies may prove anything but scarce. Practical tips: what to do with your loose change. Even if you don't have error pennies in Grandma's jar, the end of the penny era offers a good reason to tidy up your coin collection. 1. Roll and deposit. Gather your pennies, roll them, or use coin wrappers purchased from a bank, and deposit them at your local branch. Many banks still accept rolls without fees. 2. Coinstar or similar machines. If you prefer cash, use Coinstar kiosks at grocery stores, but note the fee, typically 11.9%, unless you opt for a store gift card, which waives the charge. 3. Spend them. The simplest approach is to keep spending pennies until they're phased out. You may never look back. After all, most retailers will round the final transactions. 4. Check for errors. As you sort, watch for unusual dates, mint marks, or off-metal specimens. Even if you find nothing spectacular, you'll have ensured every penny counts towards something productive. 5. DIY projects. Consider donating your pennies to charity coin drives. Organizations often collect spare change to fund community programs. Pennies add up. According to Federal Reserve estimates, the average U.S. household has between $60 and $90 in loose change at any given time. That's free money, just waiting to be claimed. Keeping the penny alive in memory. Historical significance. Beyond economics, pennies have been silent witnesses to America's journey. First minted in 1793, early 1-cent coins featured flowing hair designs, evolving to wheat ears in the early 20th century, then the iconic Lincoln Memorial in 1959, and most recently, the Union Shield in 2010. Pennies have flattened under steamrollers for fun, been tossed in fountains for wishes, and slipped into coin starvation machines in laundromats. Each design change marks a chapter: wartime metal shortages, bicentennial celebrations, and shifts in artistic sensibility. Retiring the penny closes a 230-year chapter in our nation's numismatic heritage, embracing the end of an era. As we transition to a rounded, digital-first payment world, the penny's departure invites reflection. On one hand, its elimination makes sense: obsolete, inefficient, and costly. On the other, it represents a sentimental touchstone, an artifact that's been passed palm to palm for generations. Whether you're a dedicated collector, a senior citizen clutching cash, or simply someone who enjoys the tactile jingle of coins, the penny's farewell is worth noting. Grab a few to commemorate the end, share stories with younger family members, and maybe start a new tradition of marking monetary milestones. Conclusion: the penny's retirement signals more than the end of a coin. It encapsulates shifts in our economy, our technology, and even our culture. From government savings on production costs to consumer impacts via rounding, the decision carries both clear financial benefits and nuanced personal costs. While viral rumors might tempt you to search for a hidden million-dollar penny, the reality is most change jars contain coins worth just 1 cent, unless you're extraordinarily lucky. But even beyond monetary value, pennies carry history and meaning. So before the mint strikes its last zinc-plated legacy, take a moment to check your jars, roll your change, and preserve a small relic of America's numismatic heritage. After all, even in obsolescence, the penny still has something to teach us about value, both economic and sentimental.